Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, after backlash, the office, an agency led by Vice President Sara Duterte, relinquished their requests or her requests for confidential funds. The Senate leadership assures the confidential funds totaling 650 million pesos will not be restored during the BICAM conference of the 2024 budget. And the Education Department details its priorities for the coming year. Education spokesperson Michael Poa joins us live here in the studio. After much scrutiny and pushback, Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte drops her requests for confidential funds for her offices. Duterte admits her pursuit for 650 million pesos in secret funds is divisive. The House earlier rejected the OVP and DepEd's confidential fund requests, and this was adopted by the Senate Committee on Finance. Senate President Mig Zubiri says it will not be restored in BICAM since Duterte has clearly stated she no longer wants the controversial funds. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Education spokesperson, Undersecretary Michael Poa. Attorney, I know you're tired. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Pinky. Thank you for having me.
Mahaba-haba po yung deliberation kahapon. Okay, there's much to talk about. First, I kind of wanted to break this down just so we're very clear on this. The OVP, the Office of the Vice President, basically Vice President Sara Duterte, she said she decided to do away with her confidential funds for the Office of the Vice President, dalawa po yun, and of course DepEd amounting to 650, that's 500 and 150 respectively. In a statement released by the Vice President, read by Senator Angara and Senator Pia Cayetano, hindi ho ba? Sabi, this is divisive. So first I wanted to find out if you can tell us, when exactly was this decision made?
Well, it's not a decision that was just made siguro like I don't know within a day or two. We have to say na nagpropose tayo ng ganitong mga budget both for OVP and DepEd for specific purposes. No? These funds were needed. Were deemed to be necessary for the safe implementation of projects for the OVP, for example. And then on the part of DepEd, kinailangan natin yung mga pondo because as you know, ang daming mga balita regarding criminal activities, abuses in our schools, of course, not to mention recruitment. But again, recruitment is not the only factor. But I guess, nung lumaki yung issue ng confidential funds, as we all know, no? Nakita natin at nakita ng ating Vice President na talagang naging divisive siya. And as she said, she swore an oath to keep the country peaceful and strong. No? And so because of that, she eventually made the decision na mas maganda ng to give up the funds.
Would you say it was done immediately after the decision of the small committee of at the House of Representatives, or would you say it was upon transmittal of the budget to the Senate, I believe last Saturday? If you can give me basically, when did you know about this decision?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot really pinpoint the exact moment. No? I'm sure it wasn't just one moment. I'm sure...
It wasn't just yesterday.
Yes, it wasn't just yesterday. Talagang may pinag-aralan niya, tinignan niya ng mabuti kung ano yung nangyayari no, sa ating bansa because of the discussions on the confidential funds. So I cannot, again, I apologize, I cannot give you an exact moment, but definitely it was really the whole thought process behind it was that nakita niya na it might really be a divisive issue and it might further divide the country. So she decided to just let it go.
I'd like to follow up on that, Attorney. Do you think, or would you know, would you be able to answer if the Vice President decided to do this because she lost it at the, she lost that budget rather at the House with a small committee, removing the 650, and she might not get that support from the Senate as well, so let's just drop it. And in fact, in the past, and you were there, the Vice President said, she can do away without the confidential funds.
I wouldn't put it there no, na because tinanggal na ng House. Because definitely, ang sabi nga rin sa mga senators, no, pwede pa itong pag-usapan sa BICAM, but at this point, moot and academic na kasi talagang lahat because nga, she decided to give it up.
All right. And then, again, dalawa po yan, OVP and DepEd. So, are you this? What is your position? You are the spokesperson supposedly of DepEd, right? Are you also speaking on behalf of the Vice President?
Well, yesterday, I did deliver the statement of the OVP lang for the media.
Okay.
So, as of course, the spokesperson of the Vice President, no, it was my duty to deliver her statements to the media.
Spokesperson of the Vice President, you said?
Yes,
Not the Education Secretary?
But, well, sa atin naman ngayon, it's just really delivering the message. Just to put that to rest. No?
But are you the spokesperson of the OVP for now?
No, not officially. Not just yet. We'll have to.
Okay, so yung sa OVP, tanggal na po yan completely. 500 million, that's
yes,
done, no?
definitely. Kasi talagang she already said, no, she would rather give it up than see divisiveness.
Right. So here's also what's important. Yung sa 150 million, also requested by the DepEd through the Vice President, also removed. But, sir, this was realigned, ni ho ba,
Yes.
by the small committee too. So tinanggal siya ng confidential funds, pero ni-realign naman siya to this, to the government assistance to students and teachers in private education programs.
Yes.
Pero yesterday, hindi ho ba, attorney, the DepEd wanted this realigned elsewhere. Doon po sa learning, para po sa PISA, tama ho ba?
Yes.
Okay.
Sa atin naman sa DepEd, kasi originally, doon sa General Appropriations Bill or GAB, na realigned yung 150 doon sa gas fare, yung voucher program natin, as you said. But we made the humble request na ito'y ma-realign na lang doon sa ating National Learning Recovery Program. Of course, alam naman natin yung mga balita on learning poverty, learning loss, and as was mentioned yesterday, there's this international assessment, no, yung PISA results that this test was administered sometime May 2022, if I'm not mistaken. In any case, before the resumption of in-person classes, and the results are coming out this December. To be honest, we're not really expecting good results. So, right now, we're really focused, the Department of Education, on learning recovery. And that is why we requested that if there were realignments to be made, i-realign na lang yung pondo sa National Learning Recovery Program. If you would just give me some time to explain what this program is all about.
I was going to ask you about that. Go ahead, sir.
Ang nilalaman ng National Learning Recovery Program would be our National Reading Program, which we are rolling out, our National Math Program, National Science and Technology Program. So ito yung mga nationwide, meron tayong iisang programa para tumutok sa reading, math, and science.
Okay.
Plus, this also includes yung ginawa na natin this year, no? What we piloted, which was the National Learning Camp. Ito yung learning camp held during school breaks. So dito, pag may kailangan ng enhancements or remedial classes, dito, voluntary to, pero ito yung sinasagawa natin during school breaks. So these are the steps we are taking, of course, alongside the launch of our Matatag curriculum, the new curriculum for kinder to grade 10. And we're hoping that with these programs, we're able to really improve our performance
I
in
think
terms of assessment.
even in past interviews, admittedly, Congressman Roman Romulo also very dedicated, no, to the education sector. Basically, was saying, kailangan talaga read, sabi niya. Kailangan ng math, kailangan ng science. But how does this affect, for example, I mean, did you not have enough budget for this, ito pong national learning? Kasi kung ikukumpara naman natin, parang importante din yung voucher, hindi ho ba?
Yes.
To be able to move from one school to another. So how do you balance that out?
Okay, well, pagdating po dun sa voucher, we propose a budget. There is a bit of deficit. Pero nabigyan na tayo ng additional ng Senate dito. No? Nagdagdag sila ng, I think, around 1 more billion. But I haven't seen kasi the final report. No? But at least from the conversations or discussions we've had, nagkaroon na ng dagdag yung voucher program. So when you talk about realignments, we need to determine kung saan may impact talaga pag nagdagdag ka. Pagdating sa National Learning Recovery Program, I think we have to explain kasi the budget process. Yung National Learning Camp, for example, was piloted noong July during the school break. When the NEP, or the National Expenditure Program, was approved by the DBM, no, when the budget proposals from the agencies were made, this was prior to
Wala pa
July.
yung camp.
Yes. So, hindi pa natin na-assess at that time kung magkano talaga yung kailangan nating gastusin for the camp. So now, even if the National Learning Recovery Program has been crafted and there is a budget allocation for that, we feel that kakailanganin pa ng konti pang pondo. So if there were any realignments to be made just to ensure that we are able to maximize learning recovery, doon na lang natin ilagay yung pondo. That is the basis of the request.
Does it necessarily mean that it actually goes to this National Learning Camp?
Not just that.
Not just that. That's a component rather.
That's one of the programs under the bigger program, which
of
is
the National Learning Recovery Program. But 150
will
would
probably
that be
be
big enough. Kumbaga.
Well, right now, 4 billion na yung budget ng programa. But as I said, pagdating dun sa National Learning Camp, nakita natin na meron tayong mga gastusin dun, depending on the number of participants also. So, it would be good to also augment
So how's it been so far, the National Learning Camp?
Well, we already had a pre-test and a post-test. We're just waiting for the results, no, of the post-test to see how effective it was. But again, this is a learning process even for us. So the reason why we piloted it this year, so that we can make tweaks depending on the results of the post-test for next year.
And we need to talk about the budget. The approved budget, I believe, is 718. Is that correct, sir?
Somewhere around that. Kasi we haven't seen the budget coming out of the Senate naman kasi nagkaroon ng adjustments.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about that after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, education spokesperson Michael Poa. So again, just to clarify that 150 million that's been removed. Now, para lang to be clear, do you know for sure now where it's going, that 150? Is it the National Learning Program or is it for the voucher program?
Well, we will never know until the GAA or the General Appropriations Act comes out. Of course, after this, may bicampa.
Yeah.
But we made the proposal yesterday. We made the request, and of course, we're hoping na talagang malagay siya sa National Learning Recovery.
I'm sure the Vice President is hoping that the Senate and the Congress, both houses of Congress rather, will heed this request. No.
Yes, it's also the first time that we really came out with that request. So we'll see. But we feel that we've really justified the need for it sa National Learning Recovery yesterday. Okay.
Again, more or less, the budget is about 718. I looked at the budget in 2022. It's 633.32.
Yes.
I got this from the website. So more or less, there will be an increase of about, I would say, 80.
Yes, well, I'll have to check if the numbers you have include yung tinatawag nating RLIP. No? RLIP is including government contributions and all that for personal expenses, meaning their GSIS, pag-ibig. So we'll have to verify. But yes, there is definitely an increase. No? Kasi dun sa NEP pa lang, meron na tayong increase of around almost 5%. Dun
5%,
sa NEP pa lang.
yeah. And by law, hindi ba, it's the education sector that gets the biggest pie,
Yes,
really, of
that's
the
true,
budget.
that's
And we
true.
talk about education sector. We talk about the DepEd, we talk about SHED,
Yes.
we talk about even TESDA
Yes, that's
is part of this. A number of controversies. Senator Tulfo was talking about this contribution in schools. When this was brought up, I think it's really important to talk about this. It was already mentioned that even back in 1969, mandatory, that's, guess what we should call it, mandatory contributions have been banned. However, what, sir? This is still allowed sa PTA, ganun ho ba yun?
Well, at ganito kasi sa DepEd, no, meron tayong no collection policy. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Hindi pwedeng mangolekta ang mga paaralan sa ating mga learners. No? Totally banned yan, bawal yan. Ngayon, ang na-bring up kahapon was with the PTAs. As you know, PTAs, they have their own bylaws. They're allowed to have their own bylaws, rules, regulations. Now, gusto din nating sabihin, because we don't want to undermine this, ang mga PTAs, may mga pagkakataon na napakalaki din talaga ng naitutulong sa atin. So, may mga contributions sila sa atin. And of course, we're very grateful for that. Tumutulong sila at the school level. The question now is, napipilitan ba yung mga parents? Kasi kung voluntary naman, no? If I wanted to contribute, for example, wala naman sigurong masama doon. Pero kung talagang may pressure or talagang pinipilit ng mga PTAs at may repercussions kung hindi magbigay ang mga parents, yun naman ay talagang hindi tama. And that is why yesterday, ang sabi nga namin, if there are complaints that were referred to the good senator, we would like to have copies of those complaints para we can also investigate. Because historically, pag may mga PTAs na lumalabag sa mga polisiya na ng DepEd, nagkakaroon naman ng mga sanctions, no, like suspension. Ayan ang i-confirm na ng ating field operations yesterday sa amin.
You don't see that as some sort of confusion when, although I understand what you're saying, if there is, pinagbabawal siya, pero dahil may PTA, bahala ang PTA if they will do this or not. Is there a disconnect there, Attorney?
No. Well, I think we have to, it's not about pinapabayaan yung PTA to do something that's pinagbabawal. That's definitely not the case. No? What we're saying is the contribution mandatory? Are they forced to contribute? Is there really a sense of collection in that? Pero yun, hindi pwede yun eh. Pero if parents just want to voluntarily help, I mean, and I mean, yung nature, it's like a donation, no? Talagang gusto nila, bukas sa loob nila na magbigay sila. Hindi naman natin pwede pagbawal yun because that is personal already to them. No? But if this is being used as a circumvention of the no collection policy, and that's something that we're looking at.
So the operative word would be definitely mandatory is not allowed, voluntary is okay.
Voluntary, we cannot control that. That's up to the parents na. So
Pero,
it's not for us.
Attorney, sorry, papaano ho yun kapag lumalabas na nagiging voluntary? For example, dahil naaawa sila sa kalagayan ng kanilang classroom, mainit sa kanilang mga classroom, so nagiging voluntary siya dahil hindi there's not enough equipment, for example, in a classroom. And then hence the question, was it Senator Tulfo who also asked it, nasa na yung MOOE?
Oo. Yeah, good. Thank you for bringing that up. We have MOE for our schools annually. In fact, throughout the year, pag inukulang pa talaga, nagdadagdag tayo. But as you know, meron talaga tayong fiscal restrictions. No? And we have to admit na akma na ba yung MOE sa ating mga schools? Definitely not. No. Of course, we hope we could have more. So there are instances when you have parents, or not even parents, our partners would actually donate certain things to the schools. Hindi namin pinagbabawal yon because it's as we always say, it's a whole of nation approach. The question there is kung hindi nag-contribute yung isang parent, naapektuhan ba yung bata? Because yun yung realm ng DepEd, di ba? Kung hindi nag-contribute ang parent, tapos binagsak yung bata or mababa yung grade, hindi po pwede yun. Because then, it really makes these things mandatory. And that's what we want to prevent or avoid. And that's what we are prohibiting. No? Whatever contributions the PTA makes, it must not have any relation or connection to the performance of or the grading. Or the image of the child.
Yeah.
So, ang sinasabi natin dito is yung PTA kasi, they have their own rules. If anyone wants to donate, that's personal to them. That's not something we can control. But there is definitely no collection in DepEd. No one can tell a child or his or her parent na pag hindi ka nag-contribute, may repercussions. Yan ang talagang hindi pwede.
All right. Just a very quick follow-up. I think Senator Tulfo wants a department order on this. So, what can you do about this? What will the DepEd do about this?
As agreed yesterday, the DepEd will issue a department order reiterating yung mga laws na nabanggit ni Senator Tulfo.
So it's just a reiteration of the no mandatory collection policy?
Yes, because we already have that in place. But we have, sabi nga kahapon, there might be a need to reiterate. So we will definitely issue that to reiterate. But aside from that, Ma'am Pinky, kung meron mang mga ganitong nangyayari, we would like to know also, yung kung may circumvention or they're using the PTA para magkaroon actually ng collection. We would like to know, and we're happy to receive reports, and we will definitely investigate. Actionan po natin yan.
All right. Again, another short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, education spokesperson Michael Poa. Ang dami ko pa pong tanong. Unahin ko na rin to, ngayong gap na to. Yung SC petition on the legality of the transfer of the 125 million in 2022, no? There was a part there. Kasi the controversy here is, how is 125 million spent in 11 days? Number one. Was it Senator Angara yesterday that said there is a policy? I'm sorry, it escapes me now, but you either use it or lose it before the end of the year. So number one, what is the siguro reaction? Number one, that they deem this, they want an explanation, and siguro yung pag-transfer nga is this that this is illegal, and that they want the money given back to the National Treasury if the SC so decides. Would you be able to answer this?
Well, of course, no, a petition was filed. I think everyone knows that a petition was filed, no, with the Supreme Court. We're still waiting if the Supreme Court will take cognizance of this case, no? And aside from that, there's really not much to say. I can't really comment further on that. But yeah, we're just waiting. If there's need, if the Supreme Court orders the respective respondents to comment, of course, there will be comments.
So there hasn't been any move or notice from the Supreme Court regarding
Wala
this
pa
petition?
naman, but that's usual. It usually takes because
takes a while.
kakafile lang naman.
Right, it's been maybe just a couple of days. All right, next one, sir. Yung pinag-usapan ho natin kanina, also a concern, I think also by a congressman, Congressman
Yes.
Roman Romulo. Yung K-10, which is the Matatag curriculum, this was piloted in 30 schools in 6 regions. There was a hope that sana it was piloted siguro more, or actually in full gear, kumbaga. How is it doing so far, and when is its full implementation?
Okay. Well, first of all, ano siya, no? It's in, just wanted to clarify the numbers there. It's in 35 schools across 7 regions. So 5 schools per region chosen. Ngayon, of course, tayo rin, gusto rin nating i-pilot siya sa mas malawak. But the point of the pilot is really to slowly roll out yung ating Matatag curriculum, because it will be implemented na phased implementation strategy starting next year. What do I mean by phased implementation? Kasi sa curriculum, you can't just pilot, kunyari ito, no? K-10. Can't be K-10 biglaan. There has to be progression. So ang gagawin natin is, for next year, nationwide, 1, 4, 7. Meaning grades 1, grade 4, grade 7 will be on the new Matatag curriculum. So that the year after, doon naman tayo sa 2, 5, and 8. And that kasi gives continuity for the learners. No? Nagsimula
Or
sila
2,
ng grade
3, and 5 siguro, no? 1, 4, and
2,
7.
5, and 8.
Okay.
2, 5, and 8
Okay.
next. So, ganun yung mangyari, phase implementation tayo. But, as you know, pag nag-roll out ka ng bagong curriculum, hindi naman may iwasan na meron ka pang tweaking na dapat gawin. That's why we're piloting it muna this year to assess. What we're doing is we already engage a third party. Ayaw kasi natin na DepEd yung gagawa para to get rid of all biases. No? We engage a third party, PEDS, to come in and help us assess kung anong nangyari sa pilot, para meron tayong talagang discussion if there are needs to tweak certain things.
Has there been any feedback so far? This is implemented 3 months ago.
Sa ngayon, from the field pa lang kami, kasi PEDS will just start their review. Pero pagdating sa field, maganda naman yung feedback. Why? Because of also the class distribution. Sa ngayon kasi, yung current curriculum, magulo yung, hindi naman magulo, but different yung time slots or time allocation per class. For example, meron tayong mga 30 minutes, meron tayong 40 minutes, meron tayong 50 minutes. Ang target natin dito sa Matatag curriculum is 45 minutes na per class. It helps with the class time. It also helps the teachers in terms of yung teaching overload natin. Mas madaling ma-manage yung schedules ng teachers. And of course, with the decongested curriculum, what they're saying, the feedback we're getting is learners are more attentive, they participate more, they volunteer more. So we're still observing. I don't really want to give any conclusive statement at this point, because I'm sure tweaks will be needed. But we will always keep the public up to date, no? pagdating dito sa Matatag.
And this is K to 10. What about K to 12?
Yung
The
11
review.
and 12, meron tayong sinasagawang senior high school curriculum review sa ngayon. There was a national task force formed for that purpose. So continuous yan. Ang target ng task force natin is by May 2024, mabigyan tayo ng initial results ng kanilang initial recommendations pagdating sa senior high school curriculum.
Ganun katagal?
Yes, in
Bakit?
fact, itong masyadong mabusisi kasi yan. No? In fact, itong Matatag curriculum, it started before our time. It started 2019. I believe. So, because it's a lot of discussions, it's a lot of consultations also, because obviously DepEd alone cannot just change the curriculum. We need to consult the public.
All right. Another issue siguro that needs to be discussed quickly, yung Taguig and Makati, 14 schools ni Huba.
Yes.
I remember the DepEd through the Vice President said we will take over the jurisdiction, oversee it for now. For
Yes.
now. What is the status so far?
Right now, may regular meetings yung transition committee. I'm not part of the committee, but I was informed na may meeting sila. And itong we really want to fast track the transition. So ang mangyayari I believe it's November 17 or November 20, no? But I was told that they gave themselves a deadline na within November they will already have the proposed or finalized transition plan.
Okay.
So once that's there, we can already implement fully and transition to Taguig.
To Taguig.
To Taguig.
So, meron atang part kahapon na sinasabi, pag Monday, notebook ng Makati gagamitin o uniform ng Makati kapag Tuesday. Ganun ho ba nangyayari ngayon?
Well, I don't know kung ganun talaga nangyari. I cannot, I haven't visited the school, so I wouldn't know, to be honest. But yesterday, yes, there was discussion on that. On the part of DepEd naman, at that time, we really just did what we can for a smooth transition and whatever was beneficial for our learners. No? But of course, there were statements made yesterday, and we understand naman the sentiments of Senator Alan Peter. And so, ang thrust na lang natin talaga ngayon is mapabilis yung pagsagawa nitong transition plan, and just to ensure na meron talagang smooth and orderly transition as mandated, no? Doon
Okay.
sa Supreme Court naman nasa Taguig mapupunta.
Spokesperson of the Education Department and also possibly of the Vice President, Attorney Mike Poa. Sir, thank you so much for your
Thank you
time.
very much. Thank you very much, Ma'am Pinky.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.